Welcome to Red, White, and Blue. From the right, I'm Gary Polland.
And from the left, I'm David Jones. Our guest tonight is Jarvis Johnson. He's running in the Democratic primary to take the job presently held by Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee. That's a March 2nd vote. Congresswoman Lee was invited to be on the show. However, she's in Washington attending to congressional duties. And we welcome Jarvis Johnson, member of the Houston City Council.
Yes, thank you for having me today.
You're welcome. And you're, I think, in your third term.
I am.
District B is roughly northeast,
and then it goes over to the west, so it picks up a little bit of northwest as well.
And so you are being in your third term. That means it's all over for you in public service unless you win this job. Is that it?
No, my job in public service is certainly never over. I started my career in social service, and so I've always been a political servant. I've always been a public servant. I used to run an after-school program in the inner cities and providing after-school curriculums and educational opportunities for children. So this being a political office is where certainly my tenure will end on city council, but my work with the people will continue.
Well, tell us a little bit about your background, what you've done for a living prior to the time that you were elected to city council, and where you presently are practicing whatever employment you have.
Sure. Well, as I said before, I began to be executive director of Phoenix Outreach Youth Center when I was a senior at Texas Southern University as a volunteer executive director providing after-school curriculums for children. And then we expanded that program quite a bit because we recognized that we could not make a true impact in the children's lives if we were just simply working with the children. We had to impact the parents as well. And then how I got really involved in politics is because I recognized I couldn't make an impact in the parents' lives unless I made an impact of the community. And so we started working to redevelop and reshape and remold the community because it was barren of jobs, it was barren of opportunities for growth. There was no other housing being built, and crime was high, and so we had to come up with a formula as to how we can solve these woes. And so that really kind of pushed me into the realm of politics because we wanted to deal now with how do we fix these communities so that children have better schools to go to, and certainly parents have jobs to go to.
But presently you are a full-time member of City Council and you have no other occupation.
No other occupation. I'm a full-time.
And Gary, just a little background because he's our Republican friend. This was a seat, District B, once represented by Ernest McGowan. And of course, as you know, Sheila Jackson Lee's job was once taken by Mickey Leland.
That is true. Mm-hmm. Well, my first question for you, sir, is why are you running against Sheila Jackson Lee for Congress, except for the fact that she supported Hillary Clinton in the primaries last spring?
Well, that's one of the reasons why, because it demonstrated the current incumbents being out of touch. Not being connected to the people. If the constituency wants you to do something as an elected official, certainly it is our responsibility to listen. But beyond that, you have to look at the Congresswoman's record. The fact that in over 16 years, the Congresswoman has not authored and passed one bill. Not authored and passed one bill in 16 years, and that's certainly unacceptable. When you look at the fact that the unemployment rate is high, and certainly is high all across the nation, but in the 18th, it is the highest. And when you're talking about anywhere from 17 to 20%, the dropout rate is extremely high. And so we haven't paid close attention to the issues that are relevant to the success and improving the quality of life for the 18th Congressional District.
So you're saying that Congresswoman Lee has basically been out of touch with the district because she spends most of her time in Washington and doesn't really deal with the real problems the district faces?
Well, I don't know if it's just in Washington. I think there have been evidence that she is not just in Washington. We recognize the fact that she's in California at funerals. She sits in Washington.
That was, by the way, that was for our viewers. That was the Michael Jackson funeral, and Sheila had a congressional resolution that was controversial, and that I think that Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker, said she wasn't authorized to deliver.
Certainly was not.
I guess she liked Michael Jackson, and maybe he's a relative because they have the same last name.
No, I don't think they're relatives at all. At the end of the day, but it's those types of things that I think that have led to the infamy of the 18th Congressional District. And while the 18th has so much potential, has so much opportunity, we don't want to become infamously known all across this nation. I truly believe that the incumbent is very well known. It's very well known. but it may be an infamy because she has gotten national attention on the health care when we were having the town hall meetings on the health care and the phone, answering the phone in the midst of a constituent, giving the concern.
Well, she was staying in touch. You know, that means she's a multitasker.
No,
we can say that.
when you're an elected official, you have to give your undivided attention to your constituents, at least when they're standing right there in front of you.
Okay, let me I have three things based on what you've said. First is, you know, a congresswoman or person, you know, they have to have a lot of terms before they are the author of anything, is what I would guess. Secondly,
well, successful author at least.
Yes. Secondly, I would think that you would agree with me that an economy, which you're saying is not working for the people of the 18th Congressional District, is as much a problem of Barack Obama and the Democratic majority as it is just one person. And finally, dropout rates, to be sure, have nothing much to do with the representation at the federal level, right?
No, not when you look at the.
I mean, you have more to say about dropout rates than a congressperson.
Well, and again, I would respectfully disagree, because when you look at the movement that the federal government certainly can do to put more emphasis and certainly more dollars from the federal level in early childhood development. When you look at some of the bills and certainly some of the earmarks that have been out there, as we concentrate our attention on certain areas, we place more emphasis on building prisons than we do in building educational systems. If you look at in the 111th Congress, when the incumbent placed more emphasis on dealing with prisons and dealt with no bills or dealt with no legislation that dealt with education. So again, I think at the end of the day, we do have a responsibility to become more focused on issues that are relevant to the 18th. And again, I don't think that we have been focused in our issues. I think we've been a mile wide and an inch deep. And so being everywhere does not say that you're being effective. It just means that you're being everywhere.
Well, the Democratic Congress and the President, Barack Obama, have spent a whole lot of money on so-called stimulus programs, bailout programs. The deficit has ballooned beyond belief, and we're now at a point, at least in this country, that we don't have any more money to spend on anything unless we take it away from other programs. So given that, where are you going to find the money to fund your ideas that you'd like to see funded?
Well, I mean, absolutely. You can't take any money from education. I agree wholeheartedly with the president. You don't want to take any money away from our defense. You don't want to take money from Social Security, and you certainly don't want to take money from education.
So now we're out of money.
No. But I think that there's certainly ways in which we can, number one, increase our tax base. I certainly believe that we can increase revenue. We certainly need to start to rely more on our resources right here in America, as opposed to relying so much on oil and gas abroad. We certainly can find ways to give the incentive to the corporations that have left this country to take jobs elsewhere. I truly believe that we can do more along those lines. And then when you start looking and coming back to the 18th Congressional District, with the expansive land that we have, with all of the tremendous opportunity we have for growth, I really believe that this is an area that is ripe for development. It is ripe to incentivize commercial industries to come in and bring their corporations, which brings jobs. And when jobs come, then certainly people go back to work. And when work happens, crime is reduced. Those are the types of things that I really believe that we should be focused on. And again, not trying to be everywhere all the time, not focusing on things that are not relevant to the 18th Congressional District.
Is that something that can be done more effectively by the City of Houston's local and the Harris County governments as opposed to Congress?
No, I think we need to focus on Congress first. When you look at how much collaborating is going on, we all can do. Certainly from a city and county standpoint, we can even take a look and see how the city and county have not been able to coexist after all of these years. And I think only because of a tragedy did you see the county and the city finally start to kind of merge together and start to say, well, wait a minute. Let's start to look at our radio systems, and so we need to make sure that we're on the same page. So when Hurricane Rita happens again, that we're ready. When we can actually be able to move our population out of the city and out of harm's way. So, but why should we wait until there's a tragedy before our governments begin to coexist. And so certainly I am pushing to make sure that we're able to do that.
You mentioned revenue, increased revenue. To someone like me, increased revenue means higher taxes. So what taxes do you want to increase to fund your programs?
I don't think I ever said increase revenue for higher taxes. I don't know where.
Well, you said
is
more
that the
revenue.
right side of your brain?
Yeah,
that's it.
More revenue means higher taxes.
No, you're at.
But you may not.
What we're talking about is the creation of more jobs. More jobs is
so
revenue.
Taking people off of welfare and putting them on the workforce.
Well, we're certainly number one. Want to bring jobs back to America. We have so many industries that we rely on abroad that are American companies. We need to incentivize those companies to come back, number one.
Well, what Gary is meaning is even if you bring companies back, the companies are not going to provide the social services that you're talking about that you say we need. The after-school programs that you were working with, they weren't provided by business, they were provided by government. So what he's saying is, you know, the government is going to have to do many of the things that you're saying, and we either are going to shift money from the Defense Department or you're going to say we're going to get more money out of the rich Republicans. Which is it?
No, we certainly don't want to take money from anybody's pocket because I don't want anybody taking money out of my pocket.
So what's all the free lunch then?
And let's be clear. My emphasis is not on social service. Where I worked in social service, I understood that I couldn't impact a child's life by simply providing a safe haven. And so that was the reason why I ended up running for city council, because I understood the only way that I can impact this child's life is to create more opportunity for him. How do you create that opportunity? It's not through social service. It's through economic infusion. It's through economic development. It's through the creation of opportunities for people to move into areas. And when people move into areas, they create a tax base. When they create the tax base, businesses follow, jobs follow. That has nothing to do with social service. That has everything to do with economics. We need to be serious about economics, not just simply giving children.
Wow.
Sorry.
Are you allergic to common sense?
Allergic to the truth.
Democrats, maybe.
Well, the Phoenix program that you ran had to have had public funds go into it, did it not?
Actually, our program was private donations mostly.
Some was public support, right? And so my question is, even if
I'm trying to think about where we may have received public funds.
When have you? Because you're talking about private development for new jobs. Have you created any jobs yourself, or have you been mostly a public servant and someone dependent upon public largesse?
No. When Phoenix Outreach Youth Center started, it was just an after-school program that provided a safe haven for children. We recognized that that wasn't enough. We needed to create child development centers. And so what we began to do is then open up child development centers all across the state of Texas. And that's where my business acumen came in as now a businessman. At one point or another, I had upwards to 70 employees working for me, in which we were running child development centers. We were serving over 500 children a day. And so, yes, we've created jobs. When you look at, but then let's talk about a little bit about on my city council side. One of the things that I've been able to do is to create opportunities for small minority and women-owned businesses, because at the Houston Airport Systems that sits inside of District B, most of those contracts that were let out there were for very large contracts, $100 million. Well, small businesses in the city of Houston could not bid on them, and we know small business makes up 70% of America's job market. What I saw was the need to create more opportunity for these small minority and women-owned businesses by unbundling. And so by unbundling these contracts gave small businesses the opportunity of now bidding and receiving contracts so that they can stay at work and certainly be able to provide employment for people that lived inside of District B. And those are the things that I like to tout and say that we've been able to bring jobs.
Well, 2 points. The minority women-owned enterprises, that discriminates against, I guess, poor people that happen to be white, doesn't it?
No, because if you're a small business owner, to be white, you can be a white woman and be a business owner. To be a small business, you can be white.
How about a white man? They're minority
now,
too.
You can be a white man and be a small business owner.
As long as you qualify.
You can be a small business owner as a white man.
We've gotten away from race and sex-based discrimination. Is that what you're telling me?
No, we certainly hope that we can get to that at some point or another.
So we're still not there. Okay.
I can't say that we are still not there.
The Phoenix program that you talked about, basically this is a program you developed in the private sector. You raise money, I guess, from businesses and charities, and maybe you had user fees to set your program up. You did not depend on government for at least the vast majority of your funding. So why does it seem now that you've gotten into government that you now have fallen and drinking the same tea that David drinks and believes that there is no private sector? The government has to be all things to all people.
I'm sorry, when did you hear me say that? One of the things you heard me say over and over and over again is the creation of economic opportunities. What we have said is, what can we do as government to help provide opportunity for businesses to relocate themselves back to the city of Houston? What you're trying to say is that I want to be a social service candidate. That is not what I am. I'm an economic candidate. I want to be focused on creating economics. You can't throw money at a problem and create social service. What you have to do is put people to work. You have to put people in employment. You have to make sure that people have opportunity for upward mobility on their own. Because if you don't, then simply you created an entitlement. And by creating an entitlement, you'll find that people will just simply wait on somebody to give them their next piece. That's not what we're talking about.
No, I think he sounds like a Republican today. Now, let's talk about the Democratic credentials dispute that's going on between you and your other opponents.
There's a dispute?
Where you're running for the Democratic nomination. So now you get to prove to us that you've earned it by your participation in the Democratic Party political life. Mm-hmm. I know you supported Obama, and Sheila was for Hillary. Mm-hmm. So 3 things would tell us where you are. Are you a pro-choice candidate?
Yes.
So are you for, and if you were a member of Congress, would you vote to repeal Don't Ask, Don't Tell, the military program that keeps gays and lesbians from serving openly in the military?
I believe gays and lesbians should be able to serve in the military.
So you'd be for repeal. And are you for retaining the Bush tax cuts that were passed in 2003 and 2005?
Would I do what?
Or should they expire, the Bush tax cuts?
They should expire.
They should expire. All right.
So he's
he's
anti-life.
3 for 3.
Yeah, he's 0 for 3. Anti-life.
So you were able to prove the fact that I am not a Republican and actually have a Democrat.
No, actually, or they don't have
I'm
any common
anti-life.
sense.
You said I'm anti-life.
Absolutely.
Okay.
If you're pro-choice, the Republicans think you're anti-life. If you're for getting rid of Don't Ask, Don't Tell, it's not about gays and lesbians serving in the military. It's just not talking about it. Okay, that's what the issue is, and that's probably not going to go anywhere. And the third one is repealing the Bush tax cuts means you favor tax increases. Because the tax increases, Obama said we're not going to increase taxes on anyone above $250,000, but if we repeal the Bush tax cuts, everybody gets a tax increase. Even you, even David, even me.
Even you.
Yes, sir.
So the Democratic primary that you voted in for Obama in 2008, have you, as I have, ever voted in the Republican primary?
I have not.
You have not.
No.
I'd say you're getting close to establishing yourself as a Democrat, sir. So there's a big summit going on, as we know, in Washington D.C. as they try to get a health bill passed. Are you in favor of either the House bill or the Senate bill as far as providing comprehensive health care?
Well, I lean more on the congressional side simply because on the Senate side they've taken out the public option. I don't think that we move ourselves to having affordable health care for all citizens if we simply take it out. I think it's important that we do move to a system in which we are providing opportunity for health care for all citizens of America.
How do we save money and make it more affordable at the same time?
How do we save money?
The taxpayers are going to save money with this system that's going to expand benefits, yet it's going to be more affordable. How does that work?
I think what you have is, I think all of the citizens across party lines need to understand that we're going to pay for health care one way or another. As I said before, being an employer and having upwards to 70 employees at my company at one point or another, many of my employees chose not to accept health care because they couldn't afford the premiums or the copays. And so therefore they just decided, well, I'll just go to the clinics or I'll go to the hospital district, which who pays for? We all do. And so we're going to pay for it one way or another. How do we come up with that plan? We still don't know yet. I think the president has asked. He said, look, if anybody has a better idea, let's talk. Let's figure out how do we do this so that we all walk away from the table happy and with an understanding that we did our duty, and that is to provide for all Americans the opportunity for health care.
So is he measuring up? I mean, you were for him. Is he doing the job that you expected him to do? There are those that suggest he's being rolled by a minority in the Republican Senate. He can't get his major legislation through.
I mean, this is politics, and we know that. I certainly applaud the job of President Obama. I think he inherited a lot of problems. He inherited 2 wars. He inherited a faltering economy. He inherited a problem in the automobile industry. And so all of these problems he's certainly dealing with. And he's been the only one who has actually tackled health care. While others have talked about it, he actually tackled it. He took on a lot of issues that certainly across this world, a lot of people talk about, but I think he's the only one who's done it. And so is he measuring up? I certainly believe that he is. I think he has an uphill battle. I think he has a lot further to go.
Well, if you get elected to Congress, you'll be also dealing with foreign policy. So let's talk about some foreign policy issues. The war in Afghanistan. Do you support the Obama position of expanding troops, at least on a temporary basis?
I do not.
Okay. So you'd like to remove the troops ASAP?
Well, as soon as we possibly can.
Okay. The Iranian nuclear threat to the United States and its allies. Do you think the United States should seek harsher sanctions against the Iranian regime?
Absolutely.
Okay. And if those sanctions don't work, would you support a military option to make sure that Iran does not achieve and build nuclear weapons?
Well, I think we certainly should position ourselves to protect this country. And if we understand that Iran poses a threat to our defense here on our own territory, I really believe that it's important that we do protect ourselves.
You've got you've got a long way to go, and it may even be a runoff, I guess, until April sometime. How are you competing in an election where you have a sitting member of Congress who can get all kind of money in the door and run ads and do all those things a candidate needs to do?
Well, I think that's certainly what's happening right now. Unfortunately, there have been a lot of opportunity to sit at the table with the incumbent. The incumbent has used a lot of excuses as to why she could not be in certain places. We certainly know that she is in Washington right now. But there have been 5 other debates in which she has not shown up to. And I think that's certainly been unfortunate, because what I believe that is happening, that this is turning into a popularity contest as opposed to a contest of issue. And we need to be able to dialogue issue as opposed to just putting out signs and putting out commercials that say, this is my name, remember my name, remember my name. And then when you go to the polls, push the name that you remember. That's so unfortunate. And so I challenge the incumbent to debate me on issue, debate me on your record. The fact is that, again, while she has not been able to pass any legislation in 16 years, and I don't think it takes 16 years to get a bill passed, she has not been able to do that. I also challenge her on the $159 billion that she said she has alone brought back to the 18th Congressional District. And we know that not to be the truth, because if she brought back $159 billion, I ask, what were the other 31 Congress people in the state of Texas doing while you were working so hard to bring back that kind of money?
But aren't you taking credit for the $1.9 billion in the capital improvement programs that went into District B, when in fact all of City Council and a mayor-run well, the mayor is a strong, we have a strong mayor form of government. He, or in the case of Bill White, is the one who put that money in your district, right?
No, not all the time. What happens is, with the $1.9 billion that we have in District B, that is for District B alone. District B and District B alone. I will boast of having $135 million in CIP for District B since 2006 until today. I also will boast of having that money in the Houston airport systems. Those are programs and dollars that has been specifically for this district. And the other thing you have to know about the CIP is it's a living document. It moves. And for those that might not know what a CIP is, the capital improvement program that puts in our roads and builds our parks and police stations and airports. But the point is, it's a moving document. Those dollars move all the time. I've been very successful in keeping those dollars on the books. I've been very successful in making sure that those programs and the construction of those jobs have come to fruition. And so I will certainly boast of being able to keep programs and keep those dollars in my district. And when you go back to...
That's called pork, and that's a good thing, right?
No, I don't know. Why is it called pork?
Well, it's because you went about getting appropriations for your district.
For my district.
That's what Congress people do.
Okay, so you're talking about on that side.
Yeah.
Well, it's appropriations to build roads and bridges, and not bridges, but roads and police stations and parks. But you also mentioned something about the amount of money that my opponent has over me. I will tell you that over 16 years, she's been able to accumulate roughly $400,000, $500,000. The fact is that in the last 6 weeks, while she's been able to raise about $70,000, we've been able to raise about $50,000. The point is this: I am going to be beholden to the voters of the 18th Congressional District. Not big business, not lobbyists, not corporations that have given her lots of money, not PACs. My money has come from donors of people who live in the 18th Congressional District and those who want to see change. And so when I get to Congress, my first order of business is to listen to the people who put me there, not to ones who made the large PAC donations that certainly now the incumbent may have to be accountable to, or has been accountable to.
Well, Jarvis, that's it. Time's
That's
up.
it.
You did a great job.
But I had so much fun with you guys.
I know. You're great. I want to thank you for coming.
My
and you
pleasure.
did a great job. And we're sorry that Sheila didn't come to appear with you, because it would have been an interesting interview for all of us. You can view tonight's show along with a follow-up discussion of tonight's show, plus find out more about Red, White, and Blue by visiting us at HoustonPBS.org. So check it out. Until next time, get informed and get active, and don't forget to vote on March 2nd.